jump on board today. I will post the whole thing to the website, and I'll also send you guys the presentation so everybody has it. Normally, this is kind of that time we would get together and, everyone can introduce themselves and get to know new people. And so I'm going to save you guys that. We won't go around and have everyone say hi, but I do look forward to getting back together as soon as we're able to. I just felt, obviously, with everything going on, this is just the smarter route. So I will share my screen. Jump over to the PowerPoint. All right. So I can kind of see you guys in the corner of my screen. If anyone has questions, like I said, put them in the chat. I think it pops up. And I'll work through this and then open up for more questions at the end. So we're doing something very different at this age this year. I've spoken to quite a few of you about it. I've gotten good feedback on the plan that we have in place. I truly believe it's the right way to do things going forward. So before I get you all too confused about what I'm going to say, let's get to it. And this is the first reason I preface this with that, because at this age, we have 31 players currently, possibly 32. Yesterday, somebody said they may choose to opt out before even knowing what the plan in place was. But at the moment, we have 31 players at this age level. And I fully recognize the fact that all of you are going to say, what the heck is going on? But let me get to it. I'll give you guys a chance to search through that list of names. If anyone is not listed on there, I promise you it's not on purpose. Obviously, I was typing through, and if you're in this meeting, your son is obviously on the team. So if I did leave someone out on accident, feel free to blow me up in the chat and let me know. But I'm going to move on to slide number 2. All right, so let's just start with expectations first and foremost. Part of expectations, I'll hit on this more in a slide in a little bit here, but my kind of overall theme this year for both the players and their families, parents included, is going to be accountability. We learned a lot through the whole COVID thing. I mean, families that stuck with us, I appreciate it. I got to talk to a lot of you face-to-face or over the phone or whatever when I could. This was a lot of work. And one of the things I learned is that it takes parent accountability as much as it takes player accountability to make this work the way that we envision it as a program. There's going to be some different things put in place this year, both for the parents and the players, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Nothing has changed as far as our expectation in the offseason. We want our guys to play multiple sports. We encourage our guys to play multiple sports. So in the offseason, if they have to miss a practice for another sport, we understand that. Just please communicate that both with me and the head coach. The head coaches will be at the practices more often this year because we do have them in place. I'll hit on that as well. But please play multiple sports, play basketball, play hockey, whatever it is. But just, again, make an effort to be at baseball when you can. That's kind of the responsibility of a multi-sport athlete. You don't get to blow off one sport completely until it's the season. You still have to put some time in, especially when it comes to baseball. We get it. Guys are going to miss. Let's just make sure it's communicated. But then in season, and this is where parent accountability comes into it. Truthfully, I didn't think in some cases parents did a good job of this. We expect full attendance when it comes to Dodgers events. The same way that we accept that guys are going to miss for other sports, I would say, and not even COVID related. This year we had more kids miss for other sports in season than ever before. And that's disappointing to me. If you commit to playing on a travel team, you commit to playing on a travel team. And that means you have a responsibility to be there for your teammates. And I can't put that blame on the kids. That's also on the parents. So that's one thing that I want to talk about once we get further along there. Parent code of conduct, player code of conduct. We'll cover the player code of conduct with the boys once we get to practice. This would normally be the night we go over the parent code of conduct. I will send that out to you guys. I'm not going to go through it over a Zoom call. And luckily, we haven't really had to enforce anything from that parent code of conduct over the last couple of years. It's just good to have that all put out there so that you guys understand, as a program, what we expect. So we will send that out and have you guys get that back to us when you can. My bold statement at the bottom here, I put it in half jokingly a couple years ago, but I like to hit on it every year. This is a program and it's bigger than any one individual team. So we just ask that nothing is done on a team level without the head coach and myself and the rest of the management team knowing about it. And, you know, the kind of funny, you know, ha-ha story I use every year, the example. We had a team go to Myrtle Beach a few years ago. They did you know, and you guys that know me, you know why I take this to heart. You know, it is funny, but I'm big on growing our brand and making sure that we present ourselves the right way and professionally. We had a team go to Myrtle Beach and they did an alternate jersey, which to me is a cool thing. You know, I wish they would have told me about it, because I didn't find out until they went and posted a Facebook picture of the boys wearing a different jersey on the field in Myrtle Beach, which isn't that big of a deal, but they overpaid, which I could have got them the same jersey for a lot cheaper. They didn't use our actual logo, and they weren't our team colors. So as goofy as that sounds, you know, when we're talking about, you know, presenting ourselves in as the program goes on a national level, you know, some of the programs that hear about the Illinois Dodgers, their only experience is going to be a team wearing orange jerseys that they don't know anything about what the Illinois Dodgers really are. So, you know, I kind of use that as a funny example, but in reality, we have a lot of resources and we can help you guys. So something as simple as, you know, a team wanting to do a cool alternate jersey for something like that, I'm all for it. Just let us know and let us be a part of it so that you represent the program the right way. That's all that's about. For the off-season program, which will begin here in a couple weeks, it ends up being 32 winter workouts. 20 of those are team practices on Sundays, and then 12 of those are the weekly position-specific groups that will start in January. For the new families, we started this a couple years ago. We will select a primary position that we think the boys will end up fitting into. Be honest, it's not 100% the case, but we do a lot of projecting, we do a lot of evaluating, and so with the goal being of getting the boys ready for high school baseball, part of this is where we project them that they'll ultimately try out for a high school position. And what we do is give them an hour a week with one of our coaches that specializes in that position. Last year, all 4 guys, I won't say all 4 because the outfield coach was myself and a current pro player, but the other 3 were all college coaches. So you guys are getting the best of the best coaches I have to offer when it comes to the position-specific stuff. So we'll go team practices Sundays starting in November and going all the way through. And then starting in January, we'll add the position-specific for a second practice every week. We'll have 3, if not for this age level, because of how we're going to handle things, 4 coaches at every winter practice now. I say this every year, abuse the membership. You know, it's on there. Utilize Play Ball USA membership. If you guys don't understand what that means, I'll hit on it on the next slide. The boys get 30 minutes of cage time a day. And, you know, I've been referring to slides down the line and accountability. This year, you won't have a choice but to abuse the membership because it's going to be mandatory. And I'll get on that in a little bit. But we'll get used to doing cage time because that's going to be something we expect from the players going forward. All the winter stuff is at the location that I'm currently in, which is the same location that we were at last year, the one on Business Center Drive. For those that I haven't spoken to since we took over the other spot, we did take over the space that was formerly the ballpark in Mount Prospect over on Central Road. Basically, the way we're doing it is this facility that I'm at now is going to be for all of our group and team training. And the other one will be where the boys are able to utilize their cage membership and take lessons if they choose to. So basically, we're using the big open space here for teams, and we're using the space over there for individual work. So when the boys do a cage time, they'll call over to the Central Road location, talk to Heidi, get their cage time. And then we're currently working on it. Actually, we've had people ask for us to be able to do online cage rentals. We're actually redoing the Play Ball website as we speak. And part of that is that we're working to have access for you guys to go on there and book cages without having to call in. So working through that right now. It's a little bit challenging, but the plan is to, at the very latest, have that available to you guys by January 1st. As far as COVID stuff goes, without going too deep into it, we are taking the same precautions we did in June. We currently are allowed to have 50 people in the building at a time. So with the amount of coaches and players we're going to have, unfortunately, that means for at least initially until things change, we're not going to have parents in on practices. I wish that wasn't the case, but we want to keep it as safe as we're able to. We are going to continue to disinfect. The boys will have to wear masks at practice. I know outdoors that got a little bit lax at times, but we are going to make it until things change and we're all comfortable. Masks will be mandatory during practice for both players and coaches. We will limit to having no more than 50 people in the building at a time. So we're doing our part to make sure that the boys continue to stay safe. And if at any point in time there's any concern, bring it to my attention, because I want you guys as parents to also feel comfortable. So that is definitely something that we're continuing to take seriously. I want you all to know that. Play Ball USA side of it, all of our guys that coach are our trainers and our coaches. So you guys know what you're getting. Last year we actually started having them get certified by a new program that USA Baseball put out there that does clinics and certification classes online. So we had all of our coaches go through that, as well as background checks. So we're covering all bases there. For those that are new and don't know this maybe yet, since you guys are members to the facility, you get 20% discount if, and I say if because I'm not pushing it on anybody, if you choose to do additional training, that discount applies to lessons if you choose to go that route. Access to additional services. This is something that I pride us on, and things that we're able to give you guys now. Obviously the Play Ball USA stuff, but I added in there Blast Baseball, and that's something I'll cover in a minute. Blast Baseball is it's a piece of technology. It's a bat sensor. We are going to partner up with those guys. We're not going to make it mandatory this year because we're kind of like where we jumped into Marucci last year. This is all just getting finalized right now, but we will be utilizing Blast for a few reasons, and I'll hit on that in a minute. Obviously, the Marucci partnership is huge for you guys, for the new parents. Our players get an enormous discount, and I understand that our program is an investment. I understand that it is expensive, but I do everything that I honestly can to make sure that we find ways for you guys to get value adds because of that. Our players, if just simply by going on the Marucci site and ordering a bat that you're going to order otherwise, you get 30% off. And I know that sounds like a sales pitch. It's not. I could actually take a higher percentage of that for our program. But I pass that entire discount on to the families because I want you guys to be able to do that. That's a way to offset the cost that you pay for the program. If you're going to buy a glove, or you're going to buy a bat anyway, whatever it is, you might as well save some money on it. And that's a way for us to, sorry, I got a pop up there. That is a way for us to make sure that you guys are able to do the things that you want to do. So, anything I can do to give back and add value, I'm going to do. I think families that have been around for a couple years would tend to agree. So that's absolutely, you utilize that, utilize everything at your disposal. That's what this program's about. One thing, and I won't go too off on a tangent, one thing I learned this year, probably more than any year in the past from the feedback, is the families that take advantage of everything that we have to offer will go out to anybody and tell them what a value this program is. It is expensive, but if the people that take advantage of this and utilize everything that we offer, they love it. The people that tend to have a problem are the ones that either don't come to practices, don't use the membership, don't utilize all the things that we do offer. They tend to not be as happy as the other families. So honestly, if you use everything we have and everything that we give you guys and all the resources that we have available, I promise you'll have a much better experience. All right, before we get into the new stuff, what we preach for the families that have been around, I really didn't change much on here except for number 5, and this plays into what we're going to be doing this year. Number 1 is work hard, period. That's it. I mean, it starts and stops with that as far as I'm concerned, especially at 12 years old. We're not crazy. We're not loud. We're not screamers. We're not yellers, but we do want the boys to learn to work hard. It was a really cool thing. The high school coach, the guys that run the Illinois Indians program that we also work with here, they came to me and said, whether they're talented or not talented, and we've sent A team guys, we've sent B team guys to the Indians, and regardless of that part of it, the one thing that they said is that they can pick our guys out of a crowd when they come in as Dodgers to the Indians, just because of how hard they work and how they go about their business. And I take a lot of pride in that. If they can move on to high school and a coach is impressed with their work habits, we've done our job as far as I'm concerned, because beyond baseball, that's going to carry over into life more than anything else. And so that's something that, I think is pretty special about what we do. Number 2, learn how to have fun playing this game. You guys know me. When I'm out on the field, I'm pretty serious off the field. I want to make sure you guys are taken care of and, the business side stuff is all set. But when I'm on the field, I have as big a smile on my face as anybody. I love it. And we want the boys to do that. It can be a stressful game. It can wear on you. We need them to understand the fun parts of it and how to play with a smile on their face. And to me, that's honestly really important, because it's also going to, if they handle it that way and they approach it that way, they're going to have more success in the long run anyway. I'm going to skip to number 5. Not everything is fair. Go earn what you want and keep working hard to hold on to what you have. That's going to play into the new system that we're putting in place this year. Again, they're 12 years old. I'm not crazy, but it's something that we have to get them to understand, especially if we're really going to talk about getting them ready for high school baseball, that there is accountability. And that's going to be my word of the year. The boys are going to hear accountability through and through. They're going to understand accountability because in a lot of cases this year, both at this age level and a couple of our older ones, there was very little accountability. And I think our new system addresses that. And honestly, I think you'll agree once I lay it out for you. So with that said, number one thing we're going to do for accountability this year is weekly cage time is going to be mandatory. We're not going to go crazy about it, okay? But we do want to make sure, the reason behind it is to make sure guys are getting in and getting their work in. So all we're asking for, 30 minutes a week. Come in and rent one cage outside of team practice. If some people, we have families in the program that do lessons, a lesson counts as the cage time. I'm fine with that. The goal here is just that the boys put in time outside of practice that we are aware of. We're going to have a binder at the front desk. They will go in. They will find their name. They will check off a box for that week. And then Heidi will put the binder away, give it to me at the end of the week so that I can track and make sure everyone's been there. You guys know me. I'm as realistic as it gets. Things get busy. Things get crazy. If you don't make it in 1 week, just make it up the next week. It's that simple. I'm not looking to be all over everybody and be crazy about it. Get in the next week. Do 2 cage times. That's fine. If it becomes an issue where somebody is missing week after week after week, missing multiple weeks in a row, not putting in their time, we are going to suspend them from team activities. I'm not going to have players continue to miss stuff and then have it in the season, either have a bad situation for their teammates or have that parent come up to me and ask, why is my son not getting X, Y, or Z opportunity? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? If you don't handle your side of it, then we as coaches can't be expected to give the players every opportunity that they can get. And I'll address that later when we get to the playing time slide as well. To me, honestly, if this one's an issue, then you really shouldn't be paying for a program like ours. If your son doesn't want to come in and hit in the cage once a week, then maybe it's not being a smart businessman of me, but then you shouldn't be paying for this program because that 30 minutes in a cage time outside of team practice shouldn't be too much to ask. All right. We're also going to say that if a player does miss a practice for another sport, which again is totally fine, they're going to have to do a second 30 minutes in the cage as well, just to make up for some of that hitting time that they're not getting at practice. The blast baseball thing I talked about, I'm going to send you guys an email about it. It's not mandatory. It is a sensor that you buy that goes on the bottom of your bat. It tracks all the analytics of your son. Every swing they take will be tracked by the sensor. It's kind of like a hit tracks, but it tracks the bat. It doesn't track the ball. The reason I like it as a coach is that when you guys do this, so if you were to buy the sensor for this year, and I'll send you the information about it, and again, I can't be clear. I'm not forcing anyone to buy anything. But if you choose to, then we will buy for you. We'll pay for the player profile, which is about $60. So if you guys, Eric, once we start practice, Eric Branchik, one of our new parents, just asked when the mandatory cage time starts. It will start the first week of November when we start practice. Back to the blast. If you guys choose this year to purchase a sensor, the program will purchase the player profile for you. That's my way of saying, okay, you do your part. I want to make sure we do our part. And the reason I like it as a coach is not only can you guys track swing to swing the analytics, I can track from anywhere I'm at the analytics. So when we're talking about accountability, this takes away the conversation of my son's in the cages 4 or 5 days a week. Well, I'm at the facility almost every day. Chris is at the facility almost every day. Nada and Sal, who also will be working with this age level, they're now full-time for us. They're at the facility almost every day. And I, believe it or not, have parents that will come to me and say, we're at the facility 4 days a week. No, you're not, because I am, and I don't see you there. This completely changes that, because now if I know who's swinging and when they're swinging, it's a lot easier for me to do my job and to make sure that guys are staying on top of what they're supposed to do. This also plays into, hopefully not, but if we have a COVID shutdown, and we're really hoping that's not the case, but fingers crossed, if we have to do something to adjust, the blast sensor will be a great way for us to keep an eye on what players are doing at home. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, but if that is the case, then I can monitor the drills that they're doing at home and the results that they're getting, and that'll allow me to be a little more helpful when we're talking about giving feedback to the guys doing at-home workouts. Again, let's hope that's not the case, but it is what it is. I added this line at the bottom because when we talk about accountability, 12 years old, a lot of this accountability needs to be put on the parents, honestly. I think we need to hold you guys to a higher standard. Whether that's fair of me to say or not, I'm going to say it. But it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure that your son is not put in a position of being underprepared to help his teammates. It's that simple. And it's happened at this age level. Parents don't make the commitment and then their son isn't ready to play. That's not fair to that player. And at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot they can do about it. If they're not brought to practice, they can't practice. If they're not brought to the cages, they can't put in extra work. And so as parents, I'll say it again, if you're going to commit to your son playing a travel sport, you got to put in some time. It's that simple. To me, team practice is the bare minimum. Showing up to team practice, that's just doing enough to coast by. And yeah, is your son going to get better? Absolutely. But is he going to get as much better and develop as much as some of the kids that are putting in more time? No, absolutely not. And that's what led me to our new program. And so our new in-season program, boom, good transition. I didn't even practice that. We are going to do some things completely differently. We will have set rosters for the MSBL or for league play. And one of the things that we might do this year is join a new league called the Skyline Baseball Conference. It's essentially a group of guys that we've put together, mostly academy teams or private teams like us that are guys that get along, guys that are all in it for the same reasons. And also we work with a high school group called the Chicago Scouts Association. It's basically a collection of programs that have the similar vision, share players to go to big events. We don't take players from each other. We really do a lot of good things in conjunction with these guys. And so now we want to take it to the youth level. And this Skyline Baseball Conference is kind of the first step. I've been saying for years I don't really want to continue to play in the MSBL. I don't like how things are run. They make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And this realistically is just a simplified version of the MSBL. Hopefully it means we're not driving into the city to play at Dunham Park in the middle of the week. It'll kind of alleviate situations like that. It's just a better situation with baseball guys that are in it for the right reasons and not necessarily paying money to a park district that doesn't need it. So we may try that with one of our teams, but we will have set rosters, and those I won't cover that part yet, but the rosters for the league will be smaller, and I'll get you guys to understand why in a second. For tournaments, we will have fluid rosters, and that's the big change that we're going to have moving forward. And again, I will explain that on the next slide. That is the part where we're going to have to, Frank, I don't have exact information of what other teams are in the Skyline Conference right now. I know you guys are familiar with Bobby over at Windy City. He's one of the guys heading it up. So I traded some emails with him last week. I'll know more hopefully going into next week, but it's going to be academy teams, guys that do it on their own, not necessarily related to the park districts or the town teams. So that's kind of where we're at with that. For the tournaments, the fluid rosters, I know one of the questions that people are going to have is, well, what does this mean? At the end of the day, everyone's going to play the same amount of baseball. And I'll explain how and why once we get there. Home field will still be Heritage Park. As far as practices go, we'll still be at Heritage. I'm actually working on a practice field that is back here by the Mount Prospect Ice Arena. They have a little outdoor baseball field, turf that they're renting out. So I'm working with those guys on getting some practice space there so it's local. And then hopefully that'll give us a little more flexibility on when we can have practices in between games. All right, so let's break this down a little bit so you guys can understand. League play is going to be rosters will be set. All right, and part of the reason I'm doing this, and again, I keep saying it's on the next slide. I'll get there. The whole AB thing is killing me. I don't like it one bit. I think we need to move past that. But because leagues are run that way, we have to align with that. And so for league play, we will have 3 teams with smaller rosters, so the boys get plenty of reps. And obviously, we can't change who goes from team to team. We have no say in that. Having one team in the Skyline Conference and then having the rest of the teams in the MSBL may have a little flexibility for fill-ins, so that's a good thing. But league play will kind of be our traditional how things we've run in the past, a little more fair playing time. Everyone's obviously going to be on the field with small rosters. The way I look at that is that's where we get our reps. That's where we do our development. Tournament play is going to be fluid rosters, and I compare it more to high school baseball. You're going to have your varsity level, you're going to have your JV level, and we're going to have a developmental level. Varsity is going to go out and play to win. Simply put, we're going to play high school rules. If a tournament allows us to bat 9 guys, we're only going to bat 9 guys. It's not anything we've done in the past, and it's not about playing to win at all costs. It's about giving the players that deserve to play that style of baseball an opportunity to do it, because being able to play that style of baseball is what those guys developmentally need, and I'll talk about that in a second. Junior varsity is going to basically be the same level we've been playing. It's going to be competitive, but it's going to be fair. Guys will move around a little bit more. There's going to be equal playing time. That's still trying to go out and win games, but that's more aligned with what we've traditionally done. And then developmental is going to be more practices early in the season and then playing their tournaments later once we've had time to develop and get them ready to go out and compete. Now, why are we doing this? Okay, that's number one. I've heard the horror stories of how things like this have gone in other programs. So I'm going into this knowing the challenges. All right. I've heard of other, I actually had a parent try out to add another player to this age level yesterday. And he said last year at the program they were coming from, they had a team of 17 players. I said, that's not what this is about. Absolutely. It's actually the opposite of what this is about. I know we had some questions for the returning families. Obviously, we said anyone that wants to come back can come back. New families, we did that as kind of a loyalty thing to the parents that stuck it out through COVID. And so one of the questions that came from that is, well, what happens if we get stuck where we have 16 guys and we can't do 2 teams? Okay. I've also heard, well, this could just be looked at as a way to make more money. It's not. Actually, we're going to make less money. Okay. The facility is going to get stretched thin. The budget is a lot smaller, so it's not about making money. Okay. This is honestly a way to give every player the right developmental track they need. And the next slide, I'll give examples of that. The other side of it is we need to stop losing players that are stuck on the AB thing. One player at this age particularly, but more at the 13U level, there was multiple families that told me, if you don't offer us a spot on the A team right now, we're not saying yes to being in your program. Now, in a few of those cases, that player was absolutely not an A-level player. Would they have fit on our B team or our second team? Absolutely. And those are the kind of, I want developmental type players. I'm good with that. That's what we're best at. And so to lose players because of that drives me nuts. For a family to say, well, we're only accepting a spot on your A team when your son, quite honestly and objectively, is not ready to play at the A level yet, then I have to say, sorry, you're going to have to go find somewhere else to play. And I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to create an environment where it's not about A and B. It's about giving each kid what they need the most. That's honestly what this is for. I promise you, I'm not going into this lightly. I have stressed about it and put a lot of time into the planning. This is about the kids, first and foremost. And the second, or the next part of it, we can't grow if we keep losing players to other teams. Obviously 31 is a weird number, but the way that it's going to work, it's going to be exactly what we need it to be because we can move guys around from event to event. It's one thing if we get caught up in, I don't want to be in the situation of having a team of 17 guys. Okay, but if we keep having to send away 5 quality players and good people to other programs, we can't grow. And so that's something that we have to keep in mind while we do this. And the most important part, and I can't stress this enough, this is the best plan I can come up with to continue having motivation on a year-round basis. It drove me nuts this year, and part of it is that I'm just tired of making promises to people and having them not play their part in that. Meaning, okay, I don't like the idea of, okay, the season starts, everyone, jumps in on a roster. Okay, you're going to be on the A team, you're going to be on the B team. Well, every year without anything, there's a guy on that A team that's just happy to be there. The parents don't take the responsibility of coming to all the practices. And all of a sudden, there's 2 or 3 guys on that B team that totally deserve to play on an A team over that player. That's not fair. We all understand that. That's not fair. And in the past, there's nothing we can do about it. Except tell that team, that player on the B team, keep working hard and next year you're good to move up. Well, this changes all of that. All right. Now we have a situation where we have week to week when it comes to tournaments, we'll have one team out, and that, we'll call it that varsity group. They can go out and they can play to win, and we're going to send 15 guys to that tournament. But we're going out with, if you're playing on that top team, that varsity team, there's no complaining about playing time, period. Even being able to go to that team, go out and play an event with that team, that's the reward. All right. And we may play 9 guys, like I said. We might send guys out there that are only there to pitch and they'll get DH'd for. Okay, that's real high school baseball. That's what we're doing there. Okay, but to me, what this opens up the ability to do is now we have a player that's on that, call it the varsity team, and they're not doing their part. All right, they're not working hard on the outside. They're not doing anything. So what's their accountability? There's none. In the past, there's nothing we can do. They have to do, the way we ran it. They have to get fair playing time. They have to be on the field. And honestly, that's crap. If they're not doing their part and that's not fair to their teammates, that shouldn't happen. And the way that we set up our program in the past, we were obligated to do that. Now we're not going to do that. Hopefully this doesn't become a punitive thing, but if that person's not doing their part, we're going to give an opportunity on a weekly basis for someone from that second team, if they deserve it, to have a chance to play with the top team. We've never done that in the past. I don't know how we could have done that in the past, frankly, based on how things were set up. So now it's not turning to that person on the, call it junior varsity team, call it what you want. That's just the name that we've kind of given it internally. But now we give them that as not a reward for next year. That's a daily reward. Work your butt off this week, and in the games this week, show us a reason you deserve to play with that top team next weekend at their tournament. That to me is a lot more instant development and motivation to say, okay, I'm going to work my butt off this whole week and I actually get something for it. It's an actual reward we can give those kids that we've never been able to in the past. And then it motivates the guys on the top team because now all of a sudden they've got guys gunning for their spot. That's sports. That's it. That's what sports is. That's high school sports. And I think adding that into baseball at 12 years old is not a problem. Like I said, I don't want it to be a punitive thing. I'm not going to make it a negative thing. It's just going to be a fact of how we run things going forward. If you're on that top team and you want to be given that opportunity to play that high level of competition every week in, week out, keep doing what you're doing and deserve to be that guy. And if you don't put in your time and you get lazy and you don't deserve to be there, then you're going to slide down and you're going to play with the JV team until you show us you're ready to come back up. Same thing for the guys that play on that JV team. Okay, and I'll be clear, I should have said this too. Guys will play on multiple teams. The guys that might go to the varsity tournament one weekend and not get a ton of at-bats or not get playing time, they're going to play on the JV team too. So, and when I said everyone's going to play the same amount of baseball, we're going to work it out to where everyone gets the opportunities they need. This is going to be a lot of work on our side. And part of what you guys might have seen on that very first slide, for the families that were on our silver team this year, I accept responsibility. I know Jacob had a rough time, but we are going to retain him not as a head coach. But I think you'll agree with me. He did a pretty good job as far as administrative stuff. He was our best coach communicator. There's no doubt about it. He got you guys the information you needed better than our other coaches. He stays on top of that stuff very well. He's going to stay on to help me with the communication side. With the data analysis stuff that we're going to use to put these guys in the right positions, and so we're going to have a lot more moving parts. I recognize that doing this is not going to be easier on me; it's going to be harder on me. But as I said before, it's about the boys. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, and I'll open it up to questions, and I'm sure there will be some. But I'm sure by the way I'm rambling that you can see a lot of thought has gone into this, and I think at the end of the day, it's the best way to, number one, make sure that the boys develop the way they need to, individualize to what they need, but also keep them motivated, which in turn is better development anyway. When I said I was going to give some examples, and here's a good reason of why we're doing this. So you've got a varsity player. He's a projectable guy. Obviously at 12 years old, we're not knowing he's going to play Division I baseball, but we know the writing on the wall. We've been doing this long enough to see a kid at least projects to be something that high level. Okay, he's locked in as a center fielder. He's a top of the order guy. Well, that guy developmentally needs to go out and play that type of baseball where he plays center field every inning of every game. He hits at the top of the order every inning of every game. And not putting that type of player in that situation is holding him back. I don't want to hold people back. So that's why we want to give those guys that opportunity. On the flip side, you've got a guy on the junior varsity who's we're not looking Division I baseball. We're looking at getting him ready for high school. He still hasn't kind of filled into a set position. He's got some skills that play at a couple different positions, so he's going to move around a little bit. Maybe the bat's not quite there yet, but he shows signs of it. Okay, so we're trying to say we're going to put him in a position where he's going to float around positions until we figure out what he plays. He's going to have more time to face the competition level he needs to face to have good at-bats to become a better hitter. Okay, whereas on the other side, we're going to take that guy out because he wants to test himself, that varsity level guy, and see if we can go out and compete with the higher level teams in the way that they play baseball. There's different needs here. And for me, we got to hit on the different needs of different players if we're really going to call ourselves true developmentally based program. You know, it sounds like in one ear, well, it's play to win. It is play to win because some players need that to develop. And this year, more than most, I've recognized that. The other thing I've recognized and part of the thing that goes into this, and I think everyone would agree, is that we need to send our teams out to have more success in tournaments. We can't send a fully developmental group out and have them just get pushed around in tournaments. I apologize that worked out the way it did this year. I didn't envision that happening. I take the blame for that. But we learned we need to give those guys some extra help too. So some guys that maybe on that junior varsity team that aren't getting as many at-bats, they might help with the developmental guys. The guys that aren't getting the at-bats on the varsity side are going to help out with the junior varsity guys. So that's when we have roster fluidity. Everyone's going to be floating around. There's going to be a ton of communication and movement that goes into that. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to play the same baseball. Everyone's going to get what they're looking for. Hopefully we don't have any situations where our teams aren't competitive. And I think it kind of covers all the things that we faced this year that were challenging, not only on our side of it, but for you guys as families and for your boys. So I really hope that it plays out the way that we plan for it to. I'm going to ask a little flexibility on your guys' end, but hopefully it never even needs to be thought of. I want to say that with the pieces we have in place and the people we have in place, we could pull this off really well. And I think going forward, you know, this might be a very different way. And you know, at the end of the day, this is probably how we're going to run our entire program going forward. So I hate to say you guys are the guinea pigs, but to a certain degree you are. And hopefully it's a really good thing. Playing time philosophy is going to change a little bit because of all this. You know, I kept it in there on purpose and crossed it out on purpose. Defensive playing time is going to be mapped out equally. I don't know that I believe that anymore. I don't think that's how it should be. That takes the accountability out of it. What I want to say is if everyone's doing their part and everyone deserves to have equal playing time, that's what we want to happen. Doesn't need to be said any other way. I want equal playing time, but I want everyone to deserve equal playing time. And if they don't, they're not going to get it. It's that simple. We can't keep giving favors away because it hurts the team. It hurts the program. And at the end of the day, it hurts that kid who we're giving those opportunities to that doesn't deserve it because he has no motivation to get better. And if he has no motivation to get better, then he's not getting ready for high school baseball and we're not doing our job. So it's kind of the tough love thing. And if we have to enforce that, then I'm going to enforce that. Some players are going to move around more than others. Some players deserve to move around more than other players. I put it in there and you can't miss it. Bright red, bold letters. We want to give players chances. We want a reason to give players chances. I think one thing we do really well is give feedback. If a player says, I want to play center field instead of right field, what do I need to do to play center field? Well, our coaches have been told, and I hope this is the case, of communicating, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z if you want to be a center fielder, or if you want to move from third base to shortstop or second base to shortstop or whatever that might be. You have to show us that you can do that. Okay, this isn't about, well, the person that's currently playing there isn't doing the job. No, we need to look at you and say, are you capable of doing the job? I don't care about that other player, whether they're doing the job or not. That's not how it works. You don't get to take a position because someone else isn't doing the job. You need to take a position because you are capable of doing the job better. And if the coach doesn't believe that, whether that player is performing or not, you don't get that opportunity. And that's something that these boys need to understand. They have to do their part to earn a spot, not look at the misfortunes of another player and try to take that. That's not how it works. That's not how sports works. We want these boys to understand they have to earn it by doing their part. Again, I know that sounds negative. I'm the first person that wants to give a kid a chance. I was that player that needed a chance, but I was also that player that earned that chance. I was always, I can't remember before high school a team where I was not the smallest kid on the team. So I know where these kids are coming from that want chances. They have to earn it, and in the end, they're going to be better players because of it. I know, in the past we've done it differently. I think that just the evolution of how things are, kids being a little bit different now, this is year 13 of me doing this. 13 years ago, kids were not the same as they are now, and you guys all know that. And so we have to evolve if we want to do our job better, and that's why we're kind of taking this approach. And honestly, I'm excited for it. I know I'm laying it out there very cautiously in the way I explain it to you guys, but I put a lot of time into this, and I'm excited to see how it works out. I think it's honestly the next wave of how things need to be, and hopefully us doing it a little bit differently than other programs sets us apart in a good way. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm rambling a lot, trying to cover a lot of things in a short amount of time so that we have time for questions. So what's next? We got to talk about Cooperstown, and we'll hit on that in a second. Really quick, the website that we got together right before COVID hit last year, brand new website, beautiful, really user-friendly, and because of everything going on, I just didn't get to use it. This year, that's going to be the go-to for info, at least until we get outdoors. I'll make sure that's updated regularly. I told the last team I just had a meeting with, if I'm not updating it regularly, kick me in the ass, please. I want to make sure it's used. We invested in it. It's a really easy user interface for you guys to get everything you need. So I want that to be the kind of the hub this year going forward. Uniform try-on day will be Sunday, January 16th. The Marucci guys are coming back. They're bringing the full size run. We will have practice that day, so the boys will be able to try everything on. And then I know we had a hiccup with the practice bundle order. I will get that all sorted out. I can't read that whole message. Frank, give me a second till we get through the slideshow. I'll pull it up. We will have you guys order it through the website again. We'll make sure that those issues that happened the first time are addressed. So that's all smoothed out. But we're going to do it that way this year. The boys will try everything on, and you guys can go home and order it that day. It'll ship right to you guys. It's going to be a super simple process. So that will take place in January. We don't need to worry about that just yet. I'm going to take the slideshow off, and we're going to talk about Cooperstown really quick. Let me switch my screen. All right. So, sorry about the long slideshow. I'm debating whether I just unmute everybody or not at this point. I don't really know how we're going to handle this. These new Zoom meetings with all the parents are a little bit different. I guess by either in the chat or if your video is on with a thumbs up. We've never made Cooperstown optional before. It's always been if you play in our program, you go to Cooperstown. It's that simple. I think with all the COVID stuff going on, money issues being a concern for some people, I think this is the first year we don't make it mandatory. So what I need to know is how many people, and we don't have to do this moment. We can open it up in an email. You guys can answer me that way. But what I need to know relatively soon is, meaning next week so I can send our deposits, is how many people we want to or that want to go to Cooperstown. Based on that, this is kind of one of those things. I see some thumbs up. I know most people are going to want to. I just don't want to make it mandatory because I know everybody doesn't. And that's okay. I'm okay if you choose not to this year. But because of the way Cooperstown is, we kind of do have to set the rosters earlier on that. We don't really get a choice because we have to submit how many people are going. We have to submit who's going. And this year, for the first time, we actually got a bid to Dreams Park. So we're going to be if we're sending 2 teams, we're going to be sending 2 teams to different locations. I've never sent a team to Dreams Park before. I never went to Dreams Park. I've heard it's a good thing. I'll be honest. I've heard All-Star Village is better. That's where we've traditionally sent our teams. The difference being that Dreams Park is bigger. It's older. So people like to go, the whole caveat, it's bigger. It's more extravagant. But All-Star Village is newer bunks, nicer amenities. The difference in teams when I took a team was roughly Dreams Park had 100 teams and All-Star Village had 25 teams. At the end of the day, I couldn't tell how many teams were there, so it didn't matter. But now, last year, our team that was supposed to go to Dreams Park, there were supposed to be 56 teams that week. So if you can tell the difference between 100 teams and 50 teams when you're all walking around the same place, then I'd be shocked. So I don't think it should be about that, but we do have the bid. So if we're sending 2 teams or if we're sending 3 teams, we have the ability to go to different places. So I guess what I would say is I'm going to send an email with the blast information, with practice information and stuff like that to you guys tomorrow. I would say let's have everyone respond to that to me by Friday with your vote of whether or not you are going to Dreams Park or to Cooperstown. Whichever one you end up going to, we'll decide that. But to Cooperstown in general. The goal would probably be send 2 teams, because I'm imagining there's going to be a couple families that opt out, which is okay. If we need to send 3 teams, we will. We have the option to do that. It's just going to depend on what you guys want to do. So having said that, I guess now, and let's do this. Let's have, if you, Steve, we don't know. We don't get told that until we put in our deposit. I can tell you guys the Dreams Park one, because we took the bid from another team, that they were nice enough to hand it off to us. That one is August 14th. It's really late. So that kind of plays into decision making if that's where we want to go, if we're going to do something different with that one. We don't know on our set date for All-Star Village until we send our deposit. Traditionally, we've gotten the time that, or the dates that we want. Last year was supposed to be July 17th to the 24th, I think. If I found, it was that 3rd week in July, so I think those were the dates. So it's usually middle to end of July is when we send. It's our last event of the year, so kind of thinking in that part of it, and I can send that information to you guys in the email as well. If anyone has questions, I know I just laid out a lot of stuff for you guys. I'm gonna unmute and we'll just see how it goes. When I tried this with the boys, it didn't go well, but we'll see. Right now it's not letting me unmute everybody. All right, so you guys can unmute yourselves, it says on my screen. I don't know why it's not letting me unmute you. But if you have a question and you want to voice it while we're all together, have at it.
Matt, it's Margaret Perota, Michael's mom.
What's up, Margaret?
And we had trouble getting into that website for the practice uniform.
So if you guys go on, so for anyone that still hasn't placed the order, I know it's not perfect. I had him place a second tab in there that removes it from the bundle is what was the issue. And they can't tell me why. So I just said, remove the bundle. For now, let's just get everything ordered. So you'd have to order the items individually, which I know is not as easy, but it just was the fix that they gave me at the moment. And then once we, it'll all still come on time and everything. Just get that order in as quick as you can.
The site crashed.
I was on it today. It should be okay.
Okay, I'll try again.
Yeah. Did you use the IL Dodgers store code?
My husband did it, so I'm sure he did. So because we've talked about.
If you click on the bundle, it's still going to show the page crash. Just go on the tab to the second tab is what it is. It shows all 3 items individually, and unfortunately, right now that's just the only way to order them. But it'll still go through the same way.
And what is the Dodgers code?
It's just IL Dodgers.
One word?
Yep.
All right. I'll try again. Thank you.
Cool. Yep. I know there's no way there's no more questions, so feel free.
Amy, CJ's mom. When we ordered individually, when the bundle, it was more money than the bundle.
I know. I'm trying to figure out a way to fix that with you guys. I know the people that already ordered, you've spent the money. If you guys did, shoot me an email and let me know. I'm going to try to figure out a way to fix that. Maybe there's a way we can do a credit on the practice uniform or something. We were just so everyone knows, the reason that we set a deadline, we did that when the rep was in town last week for the demo day. And the reason we had to get that order in as quick as we did is because for the new players, if we want to get the stuff in by the beginning of November, we had to get that order in right away for them to put the print. So we kind of just rushed it. That's just how it worked out. So I will figure out a solution to offset that cost. I don't know what that is because I don't know how many people it affected. But let me know and I'll figure out a way to do something. I don't know what that is, but you guys know me well enough. I'll make it right if I can.
Yeah, not a huge issue. Just was wondering.
Cool.
If their practice uniform fits, you just have to order a hat
Yep, just the hat. They can use the same uniform from last year. The items are the same. Part of, just so everyone understands, this is our first year going full blown with Marucci as far as ordering everything for the uniforms. And I know it's an additional cost up front, but the way that I am approaching it is, you're not going to have to order the same thing every year. We were resetting the uniforms this year for the uniform that we want to always have going forward. So I would keep that in mind once we get to the uniform ordering, especially on the jerseys, is if you plan to get a year or two out of it, maybe order a size up. Pants obviously are going to get destroyed. Let's be realistic. Those aren't making it through a year. But with the jerseys, you don't have to order the jerseys every year. And so while this year up front and for new families as they join the program, yeah, that'll be an upfront cost. Over time, it should actually save you guys money and allow us to take the money that was built into more training for the boys. So that's where we're coming from with that. I don't think it's any secret to anybody that we have a very tight budget, and I don't want training and development to be the thing that comes out of it when we have to pay extra for uniform stuff. So this is just kind of our way to make sure that we can put that money back into more training. I have no problem admitting that the position-specific stuff for the last 2 years we didn't have in the budget. I paid those coaches out of pocket. I ate the money on the rental space for the training. That wasn't in our budget. That was all free. Nobody knows that, but I can't continue to do that going forward. And so if this is our way of offsetting that, I don't feel guilty in a sense saying, okay, I want people to pay for the uniforms, because I also think that's offset by the discounts that everybody gets on the Marucci stuff. If you're going to buy, if you're in the program for 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, and you buy 2 bats, that pretty much already saves you the money you spent on uniforms. So at the end of the day, it's all going to wash out. I think I'm fair when I say that, so hopefully I am.
Hey, Matt, it's Cassie Bodart. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Did you say at some point I had a problem with my connection for a little bit, but earlier on, did you mention if we could have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that you put together?
Yep. So I'm going to send you guys the PowerPoint and the video.
Okay, great. And then back to the practice uniform. If something fits, did you mention if there are any returns or exchanges? Or
yeah, so and that's one of the good things about the Marucci guys. They take care of us. They roll out the red carpet for us. All you have to do, I think your order actually comes with it. They give you guys a whole layout of if something doesn't work, how to go through their customer service. So for the new families, I didn't really hit on the Marucci stuff a lot. We're part of their Founders Club, which is their highest level of packaging that they do. We're basically part of their family. I go down there once a year. I meet with all the people in-house at Marucci. They really treat us well. And actually this year they gave us a new opportunity. We're actually part of their franchise club, which means going forward, we can actually be called the Marucci Dodgers if we choose to. That's a step up from Founders Club. I don't know that we'll do it, but that just shows the level of service and commitment that they have to us. So they will take care of you. And if there's ever an issue, let me know. Rafe, our rep who was up last week, is amazing. He goes above and beyond. I feel guilty. I know the bundle thing didn't work out super well, but he was all over it. I was texting him at random times when parents were trying to get a hold of me. He was responsive to all of it. He's great. So if there ever is any customer service issues, they will take care of you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Matt, it's Margaret again.
What's up, Margaret?
I don't know what the size chart is. I have an average size kid who's small and he wears a size 10. What am I picking here? Any parent would like to give me some guideline, that would be great. He's about 4'10".
So
and he's skinny.
I'm ignorant because my oldest is 5 months old, so I don't know what a size 10 is. They offer
if any parent can chime in, I would really, because I don't want to go through the whole exchange and have him not be in a practice uniform. So if anybody, are we going youth large, youth extra large? If anybody could chime in, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
I will say, and the parents from last year can attest, that the T-shirts run a size big. They actually do that in case we choose to use these as a jersey, so it's big enough to tuck in. I would order one size down. I normally wear a large T-shirt. I've gotten all T-shirts in mediums now because I'm swimming in a large, so keep that in mind as well.
Thank you.
Only, and I'm getting off topic, but only for that item. There's some new items in the Spirit Wear store this year. that run true to size. So if you do have questions, you can also let me know as well.
Hi, Matt. This is Rumi, Ayan's mom.
What's up, Rumi?
Quick question. So with this new program, how do you anticipate team bonding?
Great question. It's going to start from day one. All 31 kids are going to practice together all the time. So the goal being, it's not team bonding, it's program bonding. We want these boys to be comfortable. All the coaches will be there all the time, for all 3 coaches, for the head coaches for the 3 groups, and all the players will always be together. So it actually should be, ideally, because there's going to be so much roster movement, all the boys are one big unit. And I think that's, it sounds a little goofy, but that's how high school baseball is. You got 25, 30 guys in a group. They bond as one giant group. And that's what we want to get these boys ready for. I know it's different than you guys are used to. I get that. I totally do. But we pride ourselves on being better than other groups. And that sometimes that means doing things differently. I'm going to make an effort to make sure that when we are back there as a giant group, that it takes place. But I guess the fear, and I understand your guys' side of it, is it's different. But we also recognize that going into it, and we're going to try to do things that, get past that, I hope.
So you'll have a head coach for each team, and then...
So the way that it will work, and I didn't really speak to this during the presentation. So for the players that played for Coach G this year, Coach G is coming back. Unless something crazy happens between now and the season, he is planning to be back as a head coach. For parents that are familiar with Coach Nada and Coach Sal, the way that we're going to do this is they are going to coach. Instead of us going out, I'll backtrack a bit. Instead of us going out and trying to find good coaches, we have good coaches in-house that do an amazing job that we can afford to have with multiple teams. And so this isn't going to be a situation where they split time. They're going to be head coaches of 2 teams each. And running things the way we run them is going to give them the flexibility to do that. For those of you that have had a chance to play for Nada or Sal, they're awesome. That's why I hired them full time. These are guys that get that age level. They're good with that age level. They have the right approach. And so I want to put them with as many kids as we can. This year, I'll admit it, it was maybe a little bit of a stretch to give Jacob a full-time head coaching position to the players that were with him. And that's kind of why we backtracked on that. That's why we also put Coach Ross into the position that we put Coach Ross into, because we recognize that. With Sal and Nada, we have good coaches, so why would we not put them with as many kids as we can? So throughout the course of the entire offseason, Coach G, Coach Nada, Coach Sal, myself, and Jacob will all be there for the winter practices. So all the coaches and all the players will always be together. And so the familiarity, the bonding, the team chemistry, I would hope that over the course of 20 weeks that we can do a good job of making sure that we build that with these boys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Matt, this is Heidi Walzak, Alex's mom.
All right.
Can you talk about, will the developmental team play in developmental tournaments, or how will that, JV developmental, when you tournaments or
as
what?
You guys found out this year, we can only control that so much. And so that's why, I sat here and said, okay, well, I can put them in, there's certain tournaments that are pegged for more of a B type, developmental type team. The problem is there's no governing to which teams register for that tournament. So even though it might be a quote unquote B level tournament, there are 100% teams out there that purposely go into B tournaments to win them. It happens. They sandbag. They say, well, we want to go get a trophy. So we're an A team and we're going to play in a B event. It happens every year. So we can't control that piece of it. But what I can do, and what I think is the best thing we can try to, the best approach we can take is, like I said in the thing, playing our tournaments for that group at the end of the year when they've had more time to be on the field, more time to prepare, more time to get ready. And so instead of playing an April tournament, for example, they'll play an extra July tournament. So they'll play all their league games, they'll get their reps, we'll have more practices, and then we'll go into tournaments a little bit more prepared. I mean, that's, we can only control what we can control. And so I think taking that approach to it is giving them the best chance to have success in those tournaments. I wish I could say, I'm going to see who's in an event and make sure that we align with the groups that are in it, but there's realistically no way for me to do it as much as I wish I could. And I don't want to put them in a situation to struggle. You know, we saw it this year. That happened, and I feel bad about that. But I can only control what I can control. So at least if we say, okay, we're going to get them seasoned by playing in the league, doing more practices, hopefully they go into those tournaments more prepared. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
Okay. Yeah, that helped. I think I was just more like the games that, I mean, I understand the playing time and you walked through all of that and the practice and the commitment and everything, but the 3 teams should relatively get exposure to the same amount of games, right?
Absolutely. They're still going to play the same number of tournaments. They're still going to play the league, which the league is all the same amount of games. So yeah, the goal is not for them to play less baseball. The opposite. It's for them to play as much baseball as we can get them to, just handling it a different way. Oh yeah, they'll still play the same number of tournaments as the other 2 groups, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Tom, are you raising your hand? I can't hear you.
All right, sorry, I had an unmute issue. How often and when do you see communicating with players and their families about going to whatever team they're going to that week?
So
let's say a kid is, going from developmental to JV for a week or down, or
so the plan would be to give 2 weeks notice.
Okay.
So you guys will have a list of all the events, and initially we'll probably send out some type of early communication of these guys can plan to be at these events. So I get that. You guys have busy schedules. You have other kids, family stuff. Totally recognize that. I've thought through that part of it too. So what I basically would say is, okay, starting on day 1, here's the 3 groups. Here's where you're tentatively going to be. And then expecting that 2 weeks out ahead of time, okay, he's going to shift into this spot. He's going to shift into that spot, so that, I'd be lying if I said to you, we're going to do this thing and it's going to give guys opportunities, and then we don't do that. That's not the point. There has to be some movement if we're going to be serious about this. So, but I also want to make sure I give you guys a heads up. So yes, it will take some flexibility on the part of the families. But I would hope that you guys are able to take on that flexibility to give the boys the better opportunity. If we say, I hate to say it this way, if we say within a 2 days notice, oh crap, we really need your son to fill in on the varsity team this weekend. Well, that's an opportunity. I would hope somebody jumps at it and doesn't complain about it. If again, that's an opportunity. We're not saying they have to do it. So if that person doesn't take that opportunity, then we're going to move on to the next person that we think should. I want to.
I was just asking for a norm. Obviously, there's going to be situations where they move up and down, and it's not going to fit that. But just kind of a baseline.
Yeah, I would say 2 weeks is probably fair, and it's going to it's going to shift and change, especially if you deal with the stuff that we dealt with this year. But for sure, I don't want to drop it on people the day before. That's part of why I'm keeping Jacob in the role he's in, is I think he did a good job with you guys on getting you the information, at least comparatively to my other coaches. He did. And so I'm going to need help with that. And so I want to make sure if I'm willing to invest in somebody that's going to help me do that. Because I know the communication is going to be the challenge.
We have another meeting, so I have to log off.
Okay.
But thank you, Matt, and hopefully we'll see everyone soon.
All right, Rumi, take care.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Likewise, bye.
Anybody else? And guys, if you don't have a question or you don't want to ask a question in front of the group, Carlos, go ahead. Fire away.
Yeah, I guess for Cooperstown, what is the organizer telling you about the feasibility of the tournament for next year? What are the contingency plans? Nobody knows anything, but I guess what are they telling you, right?
Contingency plans, there are none. I can tell you what happened this year, and I think they're taking the same approach to it that they did. Dreams Park, the new one that we're going to possibly go to, they canceled everything right out the gate. They simply came out ahead of it and said, we're not having any tournaments all summer. Here's your money back. So that's how that one went. The one we were scheduled to go to last year, All-Star Village, they gave us an option. They went as long as they could holding out to see if teams were going to want to come. They canceled our trip 4 weeks, I think, ahead of time. So up until that point, we stayed on board. The parents wanted to wait it out and see if we were going to. Now, they said at the beginning if we wanted a refund, they would give it to us. But our parents said, no, we want to wait it out. If we can go, we want to go. But they did give us 4 weeks notice, and they gave us a full refund. So that did work out, and then we gave that back to the parents, obviously. And so I think it would kind of be the same thing, a play it by ear approach. They don't want to give money back. Let's just put it that way. Tournament companies don't want to give money back. They're going to hold out as long as they can. And on the same side of it, if families are willing to wait it out, I guess it's play it by ear. But I think the safe thing is that, they were willing to give refunds. So if that's a concern, at least we know that, okay, we can take the step forward and plan to do it and know that if it doesn't happen, we're not eating the money, because it is expensive. For those that don't know, it's $1,000 a player plus the cost of the coaches. So I want to say that our players last year, I want to say it was $1,300 or $1,400 per player, and that's just for the event. That's not including travel costs for the families. So it's expensive. It's if you want my 2 cents, and feel free not to take it, I think it's a lot of money for a youth baseball tournament. It is a great experience for the boys. I know it's what they look forward to coming into this age level. I won't say they don't have a great time. They do. I guess from a realistic standpoint, the bad part is that the week it's over, it's already forgotten. I hate to say it that way. They're going to play. If you don't want to spend the money, these boys are all going to play in a lot of other baseball events. They're going to do a lot of things. If you want and have the money, it's worth the experience. If you don't have the money, I wouldn't recommend stretching your whole family and putting yourself in a stressful situation for it. That's just me being honest and upfront. If you have it, great. Because the boys I took loved it. They still, they tell stories about when we were there. All of our Dodgers teams that we've sent, they still tell stories about it. It is worth it if you can do it. My hesitation is in the times we're in. I know, from talking to some parents that money's tight with certain families, and that's understandable. So I wouldn't stress over it. If you don't have the means to go, I won't say you're not missing out on something, you are, but it's not world changing. It's not something that they're going to regret because, our teams have gone to Myrtle Beach. We're going to start going to the Marucci World Series. When they get to high school, they're going to go down and play in Georgia. They're going to go play in Florida. And Cooperstown will be a good memory, but it'll be a memory. And so, I don't know if that's what you guys want to hear, but that's, 13 years, that's, and I've talked to a lot of people about it. That's my experience with it. I went as a coach. I never went as a player. So maybe I have a different view of it, but, I just want to be honest with you guys because of what's going on. I wouldn't want a family to feel like they have to and they're pressured to put up the money to do it if they don't have it. I want to be fair to everybody. So. Kind of where I'm at.
The other question I have is, I remember my son came home one day after practice saying, "Hey, Dad, we were with the 9-year-olds, and there was so many kids. I only got a couple of at bats. So I don't know how you think that you can have a practice with 31 kids at once. I guess I think you said you're going to have 3 coaches there, but it sounds like 31 kids is a lot for a practice."
What practice? You guys your 2 age levels always practice together, so I don't know when he would have been at practice with 9-year-olds. Is my only question. No, I'm not questioning you. I'm asking for when did that happen?
It was outside. It was outside at Heritage Park. So that's all I remember.
None of this is referring to Heritage Park. That was just a product of COVID. That was us having to make do with what we had. Indoor practices are a totally different situation. Right now, we're just focused on the indoor side of it.
Okay.
Hey, Matt. It's Catherine again. Sorry.
What's up? Sorry, I'm trying to look at different screens and figure out who's who. Go ahead.
I know. Hold on. Let's see if I get it. Just one other question, too. You said back to the Cooperstown. You want an answer by... Did I write down by the end of this week?
Yeah, by Monday. Because I'll have to put the deposit down next week.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep. Anybody else? I think, Jen, were you trying to say something at one point? Cool. Anybody else? Don, go ahead.
I missed that first slide with the names of all the players.
I'm going to send the slideshow so you guys will have that.
So that's just a list of all 31 players?
Yep.
And that's it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just questioning. You're asking for a list of people going to Cooperstown, whether it's All Star Village or Dreams Park, but obviously you haven't released rosters. How are we supposed to know if we're going to be on the varsity, junior varsity, or developmental? Or do you plan on taking 18 people per team to Cooperstown?
No. That's why I'm asking who wants to go, because if we're in a situation where we're sending 3 teams, I'm going to be finding more players to fill in the rosters. We're going to put them according to how we see them today, because that's what we have to do. It's that simple. I wish there was another way to say it. We'll have to make that decision now of where we project them to be. And that's kind of one of the only hiccups in this whole process is for the decisions we have to make early on. We have to go with the information we have right now and the players, how they currently stand talent-wise, right? So I'm not sending a team to Cooperstown with 18 players. At max, they're going to be 13-person rosters. And the only reason I would say 13 over 12 is that to go there, you need pitching. And we can't send a team without enough pitching. So we always send 13 guys. So if we get into a position, I'll be honest, I anticipate having some families that choose not to go. And so that way we would have probably your traditional 2 rosters of 13. And if we have everyone wants to go, which is fine, I'm going to find more players that want to go because people ask me every year. We get people that come to us and say, our team's not going to Cooperstown, but we'd love to go. Do you have space for us? I'll fill out all the rosters. That doesn't concern me. So are we going to send the same way I'm going to approach the MSBL in the league is the same way I'm going to approach Cooperstown. These 13 guys are going to go together. These 13 guys are going to go together, and these 13 guys are going to go together, and that's what it is. Based on the information and the level of talent that they're at when we have to submit that roster.
And at what point are you going to release the rosters? I'm sorry if I missed that part.
No, we're not. And that's Carlos. That's kind of the program that we're going into right now. Is we're not having set rosters unless we have to. So as far as the MSBL goes, I'm not setting those rosters until the last possible day that we have to, because I want to give these boys every chance to prove what they have. I could admittedly sit here and I could understand parents going, well, what is that? Well, for me, that's giving every boy every opportunity to show us what he has. And if you don't like that, then that goes totally against the accountability thing that we're trying to stress. I get from a parent standpoint, but the way that we have to start doing things, I can't hold someone accountable if I tell them today you're on the A team, because straightforward, there's players last year at this age level and at others that were told they're on an A team and came to half of our practices. That's not fair. So I don't want to set the rosters before we get into practices for the sake of the boys that may deserve to move up and play a level. So I'm going to give them as long as they possibly can to earn what they earn, or in some cases not earn what they earn, and that's going to be on those people. I know it sounds harsh for 12 years old. I'm not trying to be harsh. You guys know me. I'm just being realistic. Guys that deserve to be rewarded need to be rewarded. I think that's what it comes down to. And parents that don't commit or players that don't commit and don't put in the effort to get better, there has to be some accountability. I don't want to call it a penalty, but there has to be something there that holds everybody to a certain standard.
So the observation that I can make is that, I agree that they need to spend more time in the cages, but there's also running and there's also catching in baseball, not just hitting. So I don't know how else you can add to this requirement of having to make sure that the kid is actually getting to a speed level that is more reasonable and also that has the ability to catch no matter what.
Carlos, please don't take this question the wrong way. Have you watched our off-season practices?
I haven't.
Okay, so at the facility, we have open turf space. We work on defense, we work on speed and agility, we work on strength. We do everything.
Right. My question is beyond what you do in practice.
That's all we have to go by. I mean, it's what they show us in the facility. It's not just, I guess what I'm suggesting is that you actually add requirements similar to what you're saying about the spending time in the cage outside of practice, adding requirements of having kids write down and say, this week I spent 30 minutes running or I spent 30 minutes catching. I don't know what else to do. No, but that's the thing. This isn't merit based. It's not he practiced more than another kid, so he deserves a spot. At the end of the day, it's talent. Some kids need to practice more than others to reach a certain level of talent.
That's what I mean.
Right. What I mean. But so it's not whether they submit it to us or not. at the end of the day, you know how we do our testing. We have all of our metrics, ball exit speed, throwing velocity, 30 times, all the things that we send you guys when we do our testing. That's part of it. Part of it's also their personality makeup. Part of it is how do they handle pressure. Part of it, I mean, we all know the things that go into our decision making. You guys know well enough. We're looking at the whole picture and trying to decide where it's best for that kid. And so is there a perfect system? No, because in baseball, there's not a perfect system. We do the best thing we can. We make the best decisions we can. And I think we probably collect more data and do more evaluating than other programs. So I think we're more than fair with the things that we lay out and the information that we give back to you guys. As far as, you know, I've never ever said to someone that asked me what they could do for their kid, or the kid themselves asked what they could do to get better. I've never not given, you know, I mean, you guys know me. I'm probably too thorough when it comes to my communication. So I give a thorough answer and then we hold them to that. So, you know, I think based on the way we run practices and all the things that we look at, I think we paint a pretty good picture in here. But kind of to your point, once we get outside, that's why those tournament teams are going to be fluid still, because it could change once we get outside and things could be different week to week. And that's why I want to leave that door open. So it's not just once the rosters are set for, you know, obviously the league we can't do anything about. I wish we could have fluid rosters for the league, but the league just won't allow that. So that's why keeping it fluid for the tournaments, that I think that kind of hits on your question more of how do we make that decision. And once we're outside, we have free flexibility to do whatever we want for that side of it. Is that fair?
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just trying to be as honest and upfront so that you guys all know where we're coming from. I don't want there to be any, you know, surprises where people are like, well, we didn't understand that part of it. I'm happy to give you guys our, you know, our thought process behind it. Because, you know, you guys, the parents that have been around, you know me, I'm transparent. I'm going to tell it like it is and tell you why. And I'm probably honest to a fault. But, you know, I'd rather be honest to a fault so everyone knows what's going on than not tell you guys. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know how to turn that ding off on my computer. Otherwise, I would.
Matt, I have a question.
Yep.
As far as like them practicing together the whole time, will they break out? Like, I know last year they practiced with the other team, and I feel like they weren't as solid together. Maybe because they didn't have more of an individual practice where like the older team did. You know what I mean? Are they gonna just?
Well, I think that time is going to come in season. I think more so once we get outside. But here's the thing. If we have fluid rosters, we have to have them all prepared to play together anyway, because if we're moving, we have to have all those boys. I think in an indoor portion of it, it will be more about the guys that play positions that work together that will need to be practicing together. Like the middle infielder guys all getting to know each other and do middle infield stuff. The outfielders doing communication stuff together. Those types of things where at least the guys they're going to be playing with alongside, where communication is a key part of it, they start to understand each other so that if there is movement one week and another, they know everybody and there's no skipping a beat on that. I mean, I recognize that the team element of this is going to be different than we're used to. And that's why I want to make sure that we reinforce that this is this age group is a program. It's not a team. And I know that's different. And I know that's going to be initially a mental block and a hurdle that not only the kids, but the parents and the coaches truthfully need to get over. But it's going to be a major point of emphasis as we go through it.
Okay. And then I had one other question about Cooperstown.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dreams Park. August 14th, I don't know if you know that, but that's pretty close to when they tend to go back to school.
I know.
So I don't know if taking that is something you have to do.
If we go to Dreams Park, I have to take that week. They gave me that week. I don't get
I mean, like, could you just do all the teams at All-Star if you wanted?
Right, I could, and I just have to check with them. I might lose the bid, and so, but I'm not putting that on you guys. We might do something totally different with the Marucci thing with that bid if we don't get anyone that wants to go back that late. When I got that bid back, I literally did one of these. So I was like, I know that week's not ideal. Like, and it's so late after our season. We're already getting into fall ball.
Right.
I wasn't pumped about it, especially because
I just didn't know if you knew that they some I think they were supposed to go back the 17th this year or something like that.
No, I did, and it's not ideal because this isn't on you guys. I paid for the bid, And so I don't want to lose it because in the future I want to get a better week. So that's why we're going to, if our families choose not to go that week, I'm okay with that. I'll figure out another way to use it this year and not let you guys be the ones that have to, be suffering with a weird, I don't want anyone to miss their first week of school. Let's put it that way.
Okay, no, got it.
Don, what's up?
Hey, is there going to be any destination tournaments or just tournament style like this year, SARS, Crown Point, Kenosha, Pleasant Prairie?
Cooperstown is the destination. So, I think
like last year we had a chance to either go to Kentucky or Tennessee. So Cooperstown's the only destination one, correct?
Yes. And with that big of an investment, I think it'd be, unless a group of parents come to me and say, we're willing to spend more and go to another one, we could do it. That's up to you guys. I'm not saying no, but we'd have to have a whole team's worth of people on board to do it. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, are there other clubs that you're familiar with that have done this kind of like group?
Our high school program. I'm modeling after what our high school group does.
Okay. But like kids these age? We're just kind of playing through that. I don't know the 12-year-olds are going to understand as well that, about what
Right. But at the end of the day, we had so many challenges this year, and I don't know how any other way to address them. Here's the thing. If anyone says that they just want to have their son set on one team and that's where they're going to be the whole year, I can do that too. And we'll set them on the team we think is appropriate, and I'm okay with that. But this is addressing the needs of an entire group more than the needs of an individual, and I get that. And so I guess I'll put it out there. If anyone says that they would rather have that and they want their individual son to be set on one team the whole way through the season, I'll honor that. I'll do that, but I'm not going to hold everyone to that same standard. And let's be real. This is all about how it's communicated from us, right? It's going to go smoothly if we communicate with you guys. It's going to go smoothly if we communicate it the right way with the boys. And knowing that going into it just means that has to be a point of emphasis that as we go through the entire year, this is how it's going to work. And they're going to have to constantly be reminded this is how we're doing it. And at this age, honestly, it's why we're doing it. How do you get buy-in from teenage kids now, from 10, 11, 12-year-olds? They have to understand why. If they don't understand why we're doing something, they don't buy into it. That's how it works. The people that truly know me know I went to school for education. I didn't go to school for business. And so when I'm teaching kids, middle school and high school, getting them to buy into why you're teaching them what you're teaching them is more important than getting them to buy into what you're teaching them. So if they understand why we're doing this and it's to their benefit, I think they'll get it. They're smart kids. If we lay it out for them in a way they understand, I totally think they'll appreciate the fact that if I'm and I hate using the term B team or whatever, but if I'm a B team player and you tell me I don't have to wait till next year to work hard and get to the A team, I'm working harder. Me personally, I don't know how else to say it. If you say, okay, you do X, Y, and Z, and in a couple weeks you're going to get a chance to play on the A team, I'm doing everything I can to do X, Y, and Z. If you tell me, okay, next year you have a chance to maybe make the A team if you do X, Y, and Z, well, human nature is I'm not going to work as hard in that 2-week span to do X, Y, and Z. I think this just takes it and actually gives them, if you don't have a carrot in front of you to work towards, people just don't work as hard. Telling a kid, okay, try out next year, maybe you'll make the A team. Okay? Telling them you can do it right away. And truthfully, for the A guy, this is just as much on the guy that's put on the A team that doesn't do his part. I'm tired of watching people coast by and not do what they're supposed to do for their own sake and for the program's sake. It's a frustration of mine. If you guys can't hear the frustration coming out in my voice, I'm not hiding it very well. It was a huge frustration of mine this year. And I know COVID played into it to a certain degree, but for years, we've sat as coaches and said, how do we motivate kids to work hard when we have nothing to hold against them? Well, if you're going to lose your spot, you're going to work harder. And even if hopefully it never comes to a situation where a kid loses a spot. I don't want that to happen, but we have to have some way to hold them accountable. And if someone has a better way that's realistic, I'm open to, you guys know I ask for input all the time. No one's ever come to me with a way that we could fix that. And so is there any way that I know of that this has been done on youth teams before? Nope. But what's going to separate us from everybody else? Got to do something.
I mean, the problem I see is that with all these tournaments we had where our teams got crushed in practically every game, that exposed our weaknesses. So it's hard to see that a plan like this is going to work, especially when we saw that there were so many weaknesses that need to be addressed. I guess I don't know. I think that's the disappointment that we all share about what we experienced this year.
No doubt about it. And that's, Carlos, that's why we're doing this, because I looked at what, I'll say specifically to your team. The challenges with a roster as big as the roster you guys had is maybe we were asking too much out of certain guys that they weren't prepared for. But now if we're putting the kids in a situation that they are prepared for, they're never going to look overmatched. And that's where we're coming from with this. If that top team, using that top team as an example, they're only going to bat 9 guys. 9 guys are going to play. The same 9 the whole weekend, just like high school baseball. Okay? That's a privilege to be with that group. That's not normal, right? That's at this age, that's not normal. That should be looked at as a privilege. Everyone's still going to play. The guys on the second, I hate these labels, but I'm giving them labels just for concepts. The guys on the junior varsity team, they're still going to be playing baseball. The same amount of baseball as the guys on the other team. In some cases, the guys in that middle group maybe get to go to more games because they might not be playing in some of the games, but they're at least going to get the experience of being around that level of baseball. If I'm a parent of a player, call that, for the sake of this group, call that junior varsity program the guys in the middle, right? You got your developmental guys, you got your junior varsity guys, you got your varsity guys. Well, if I'm a parent of someone with a kid in the middle range, to me, if my son gets invited to go play with the varsity team, that's a good experience for him to see what that type of baseball is all about, and then take that back with me to that junior varsity tournament and put that into play and motivate me to want to go back and play with that other team. Knowing that, okay, maybe I don't play this weekend with the varsity, but next weekend when I go play with my junior varsity group, now I'm playing all inning every game. So I guess the hard thing maybe for me to get to you guys to understand is the developmental side of this is there's so many dynamics to it that I think the people that buy into it are, at the end of the day, they're totally going to see the experience that their sons get. The same reason, and break it into those 3. This year, our lower level team struggled because they were overmatched. Simply put, they were overmatched, and I don't want to put them in a situation to be overmatched again. So now what do we do? Okay, so now we put them in a situation where they're supplemented by some players from the junior varsity that help them be competitive in the events they go into. So we're never sending a team into a tournament where they're not prepared or they're not matched up with some of the teams they're going to play. And I think partially the side that we're missing on this is we're not playing as many tournaments. Everyone's only playing 3 tournaments this year. So, last year we didn't do the league and we did tournaments instead. So we played, I think it was 8 tournaments. Well, this year we're only slated to play 3 tournaments. So it's not like the majority of our schedule is going to be spent on a field in tournament play. We're just, frankly, some guys may play more tournaments playing with different groups, but the fact of the matter is we're not playing weekend tournaments every week like we did this year. So it shouldn't expose the boys to that in the same way that it did. The league is meant to take the place of what happened last year. The league is going to be go out, get your reps, play as much baseball as we can. So, you're talking, if we play a 40-game season, the league is going to count for about 25 games of that. So at the end of the day, it's not that different than what we're traditionally used to.
And what is the likelihood that we're going to join that Skyline League?
We're in if we want to be, if it goes forward. And if not, then we just continue to play in the MSBL.
Okay.
Another way to put it, I don't know if I even really hit on it in the presentation. I know I had a line on it. The plan right now is to put 2 A teams into play and 1 B team. So it's not like the whole A-B thing should even be an issue because we're going to have the developmentally tracked guys that deserve to play at that B level are going to play league games at the B level. The rest are going to play A level. And so we're going to have more in that, I hate it, but A group than we're going to have in the B group. That's just the talent that we have. And so if, again, I get it. Parents are stuck on A and B. I get that. This is my way of getting away from that. But for the parents that are stuck on the A-B thing, we're going to have more A players than B players. So I guess that should be
what we're stuck on is that we want to win more. I think all of us want to win more and not get crushed in every game.
But that's what Carlos, that's literally the reason for doing this, is to give our guys a chance to win more. That is, right?
I like that.
That's what it is. The top team, I don't want to put... My hesitation of saying this is because it could come off as a negative, and I don't want it to be. But sending that top team where they're only playing 9 guys is a much better competitive advantage than playing the whole team. It is. When you only have to bat 9 guys, it's a difference maker. And when we can send guys to be POs, which is pitcher onlys, that get DH for, now we have enough pitchers to then also compete, and that team's going to go out. I said the goal of that team is play to win. Now, on the flip side, you have higher competition level guys going down from that group to play with the junior varsity group. So that team is more competitive, and have junior varsity guys going down to play with the developmental group to make that team more competitive. So at the end of the day, if the whole goal here is to be more competitive, selfishly, that's part of why I did this. I don't have a problem hiding that. I said, how do we not go to tournaments and get whooped up on? Because none of you guys want that to happen. We lived it this year. Nobody wants it. I don't want it. Selfishly for our program, it's not a good look. And it's not good for the development of the boys. So how do we fix that? This is the only way I know how without bringing in a ton of better players. That's it. I can't tell who's talking, but feel free to go ahead.
Matt, I took myself off mute. So we're a new family coming out of a team that also got their butt whooped, not 1 year, but 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And there were differences like kids taking a bad habit of taking too big of a lead off first, taking advantage of a pitcher on the mound. And so they were getting runs that it's just a bad habit as a base runner because not every pitcher is going to be like that kid that was on the mound. So it was kind of dirty play and not really a good habit play for a base runner. What's your philosophy on that? Like, do you help kids realize, and again, we're new, and it sounds like probably you're similar to the idea of play smart baseball, which is why you didn't have all the runs, right? So I kind of appreciate that, but could you articulate your stance? Do you use a first base coach? Do you use a third base coach?
So we have, at all of our games, our head coaches are there with an assistant coach, which is usually one of our college guys that's back in town. But we have 2 coaches at every game. To be completely honest, the best way I can put it is we play real baseball. We're not playing youth daddy ball baseball. I can't stress enough, the goal is to get these boys ready for high school. We're going to play the brand of baseball they're going to play in high school. And that's the goal. Having a kid that, unless it's a one-off situation and there's going to be those, but like the situation of kid walks and he just runs as fast as he can and goes to second base. You typically don't do something like that. That's not baseball. That's not going to happen in high school. There's no reason to do that now because, to be quite honest, rather than just wheel around and go to second base, they're going to steal second base on the first pitch anyway. So why not just say, okay, we're going to teach them how to steal second base instead of do some crazy dad play that's not real baseball. Same thing with holding runners on at third base. That doesn't happen at any other level. It drives me crazy when coaches tell their third baseman, let's create a bigger hole at third base and hold the runner on. That's not real baseball. We want them to understand what baseball is like in high school and prepare for that now, even if it takes the little, to certain times takes the little trick plays out of, youth baseball, fine, but at least when they go to high school, they're going to know what high school baseball is. I use that as an example because to me, that's the biggest, that's the epitome of, daddy ball is, okay, the kid runs down to first and just the coach just leans over and tells him keep going. But that's not baseball. And so, I pride ourselves.
Thank you.
I hope that's a good answer. I don't know if I completely nailed it, but
yes,
that's what we want.
We're in the same boat, and I just wanted you to articulate it. Thank you.
Yep. Are we good? Again, if anyone has questions that you don't want to answer or you don't want to ask in front of the group, shoot me an email. You guys know me. I'm pretty responsive. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I know some questions probably aren't meant to be in front of the group. Whatever.
I've got one more.
Sure.
Back to the Cooperstown thing. So do you have like a kind of a good idea for, you said maybe $1,300 per player, but like, what do you think people spend like in total? Do most people fly out there? What do they do? Like,
Everyone does it different.
Okay.
And I say that completely honestly. It's not a cop-out of an answer. So we have people that will turn it into a different type of vacation where they might go visit family on the East Coast the week before, the week after, so they're doing something totally different. We have people that stay on-site versus get a hotel off-site. Kind of split on driving it versus flying it. I mean, literally, people do everything different. So I've never dealt with that side of it from what a family actually spends. I could ask some families from the past what they spent.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah, I'll work on that for you guys and get kind of a ballpark. I mean, you're talking about a week in a hotel plus travel. So, I mean, it's going to add up. Plus, depending on how many other family members are coming with. So, and honestly, we've had parents that, one parent goes for the week and the other parent stays home with other kids. We've had whole families go. It's literally all across the board. So I think that's a real family specific question. But I'll try to dig some answers up for you.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Sure.
That would be cool. We are also new, but I will tell you from my son's perspective, he was listening on the call just because of the transition of where I was heading. But he said, Mom, that sounds really cool. So your idea of this new, and that was just him, he's like, that sounds really cool. Being able to, if you put him on one team and he works really hard, you move him up to another one and you kind of, that sounds great. It sounds great to him. So if that can give you any perspective for his insight.
And I probably give the boys too much credit for being 12 years old, but we got some pretty smart kids. And so I think if it's put to them the right way, hopefully they're going to approach it the right way. And honestly, those that don't like the idea of it, then sports, I hate saying this, but sports might not be for them in the long run. Because this is how it really works. And, if we can expose them, at least on a gentler side to that part of it, then they're going to be better prepared when they actually get to that point where it's play or go home. And I don't want any of our guys to be the ones that have to go home. So I'd rather expose them to it now.
These are actual ribs.
Great. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Well,
Matt, you gonna send out the blast details soon about that bat thing?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I'll include in it the blast stuff, the parent code of conduct, Cooperstown stuff, and I might be missing something right now, but I'll think of it before I send the email. And then so you guys will have that tomorrow. Give me an answer on Cooperstown just by Monday or whatever, just so I can start to pick who's going to go where, and we can start to lay that out. I don't necessarily need to know who's going where yet, but as long as I know how many teams we're going to have, I can put deposits down for us. Just so you guys know, to make it easier on the families, once we do decide where we're going, we do monthly payments for the Cooperstown trip, just like we do for the player fees. So that just gets added on to your monthly, so you don't have to pay it all up front, because I know it is a big cost, and dropping that kind of money isn't easy for everybody. So we just piggyback that into the monthly fees and let you guys play it up until that point. So, try to make it as easy on you as we can.
Matt, it's Amy again. When will information about car hitters and aces be coming out?
Thank you. That was the other part of the email that I'm going to let you guys know about. Additional programming coming up in November. Amy, I think that was Amy. Thank you. You got it. That's the other part of that email.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, last call, last chance. Questions, concerns? Just want to yell at me? Have at it. And if not, then I will get you guys that email tomorrow. If you think of anything that you couldn't think of now, feel free to shoot me an email tonight. It takes me about an hour to get home, so that should give you guys some time to express your kind words in an email, and then we'll go from there. All right.
Hi, Matt.
Yep.
Matt. Hi, it's Cindy Wilson. I actually jumped in the call about 5 minutes ago because I didn't receive an email or anything from you.
I'm sorry, Cindy.
You can. make sure that I get the email because I have no idea what's going on.
Absolutely. I'll send you. There's only been one email really that's gone out. It went out last week. So I will shoot that over to you and make sure that you got it. I apologize for that.
Thanks.
Yep. Alrighty.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Talk to everybody soon, and hopefully see everybody soon, because this is getting nuts.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
When he said he paid for the $60 a year.